lawsuit against Atiku. Details now. The World News at 6 begins with the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN, declaring industrial action over the removal of fuel subsidy. The pump price of fuel tripled after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared that fuel subsidy was gone. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited has directed its retail station to jack up the price of fuel per litre from 197 naira to between 488 naira and 570 naira. The Nigerian Labour Congress has subsequently declared nationwide strike with effect from Wednesday. In a statement, JUSUN's General Secretary, M.J. Akwashiki, directed all branches and chapters of the union to begin a nationwide mobilization and withdrawal of service from Wednesday. However, addressing a press conference, Dele Alake, the president's spokesperson, recently said that the committee has been set up to review workers' salary arrangement based on what the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria and the Nigeria Labour Congress has been saying. Let's take a listen to him.
As we promised you a few days ago after we had the initial meeting with the labor movement, we said we were going to reconvene today to keep the engagement on in order to diffuse the tension in the land as a result of the withdrawal of subsidy, which is a reality. Now, we are very happy to announce to Nigerians that this engagement has been very productive. The TUC that attended today's meeting presented a list of demands, and those demands we have studied and we are going to present to Mr. President for his consideration. But those demands we can announce to Nigerians that a lot of the items on the list are not impracticable. What we need to do is to study the numbers very well, and then we have asked the TUC to also give us a leeway to consult, very exhaustively and come back on Tuesday, reconvene on Tuesday to actually look at the numbers, the viability, practicability of all the items that have been presented to us. Now, most important, top priority on the list, which the government is also looking at very seriously, and the president has announced before, is the issue of the minimum wage, which the labor movement has demanded as a consequence of these removal of the consequential impact of the removal of subsidy. So government is looking at that, and Mr. President is most likely going to constitute a tripartite committee. That is the committee of federal government and including the states, then the organized labor on the other part, and the private sector. Now, this is a tripartite arrangement. It will be a committee that will study all the dynamics of a wage increase, the percentages, the numbers, and the categories that will be affected. So by Tuesday, when we come back to reconvene and meet with the TUC again, the labor movement, we should have very concrete items to present to the world. But the most important thing for today is that we are making appreciable progress with the labor. Thank you very much. It's a list, but we are not going to be listing all of those things. The most important is the minimum wage. That is increase of minimum wage, because when this thing is removed, the argument of labor is that there is an immediate impact on the workers, on the purchasing power, because price of fuel has gone up. So that would necessarily reduce the purchasing power of the average worker. So the next thing of immediate consequence is to increase the purchasing power of the worker. And so that, to me and to all of us on this side, is a topmost priority on the list. There are other things like the tax holidays, which will be some categories of workers will be beneficiaries, but those are all. The most important is the minimum wage.
Elsewhere, a federal high court in Abuja, Keyamo, the immediate past Minister of State for Labor and Employment, for filing a frivolous suit against Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate in the February 25 elections. Justice James Omotosho in a ruling awarded a 5 million naira fine each in favor of Abubakar and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC), totaling a 10 million naira against Keyamo. Justice Omotosho, who described the suit as frivolous, vexatious, and abuse of court processes, directed that the fine should be paid at 10% per annum until the cost is finally liquidated. The order followed an oral application by counsel for Atiku. In the application, he has sought an order compelling the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), ICPC, and the Code of Conduct Bureau to probe and prosecute Abubakar. Now, to talk about this existentially is Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, who is, of course, a public affairs analyst, a social commentator. Concerning the fact that this is a judicial proceeding or a judicial injunction, he is actually in the best capacity to analyze the situation. Barrister Tunji, good evening and welcome to the World News at 6.
Good evening, Esther. Good evening, listeners. I greet you especially.
Thank you so much, Barrister, for being part of the World News this evening. So here is the scenario. You will recall last year, before the campaign commenced full on, or possibly during the campaign, where Festus Keyamo organized a world press conference. In that world press conference, there were allegations, spurious claims concerning Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, where he gave the EFCC and the DSS, that was actually what he did. Now, here is a scenario. Atiku Abubakar, the court has fined him 10 million naira. All right? The court fined him 10 million naira today, and they considered his suit as frivolous. They literally said that the suit was frivolous, vexatious, and abuse of court processes. Do you think that the injunction that the court gave today is the best way to actually address the circumstance?
What the court did today was to give to rule against Keyamo. In other words, he's saying that what Keyamo has no business in coming to court. He has just come to abuse the court process. In other words, he's trying to file a case that will embarrass or irritate his opponent or whoever he wants to swing before the court. And it's good for us. Like I said, if we have a situation whereby people who file before cases have been given costs, we call it costs, have been given heavy costs in court, people will desist from filing case. You will think twice before filing your case. In other words, when you know you don't have a good case, you don't go to court. If you have a good case, you can go to court. But this case, Keyamo himself as an SAN, no, he's very much aware that this case has no basis. You don't compare security agencies to do their job. It's not within your power. You don't. The security agencies have the power, have the right to either investigate and to determine who and who to take to court, not by your command or directive. They're not working for you. They're not under your control, and you don't have the right to do that. So after going to court to say, court, compare them to this, it's like a saying. Even gave them ultimatum at that time. He was really saying that look, they are out of control.
Give
so
them
you have to add them
48
to
hours
so,
ultimatum.
Yeah, it's good for him. He has been fine. He has the money. He's just a former minister. He has some of the 774 job benefits. He will remove from it and pay it.
All right, Barrister, here is a scenario. There are two individuals who have always been so vocal when it comes to issues like this, and the way they actually address persons with some condescending utterances whenever they have to organize a press conference to talk about issues. One of such persons is Femi Fani-Kayode, as well as Festus Keyamo. But let's derail a little bit. Earlier on today, Fani-Kayode actually stated that the protest being led by, Joe Ajero and the NLC, he considered the act as a script being played by the Labour Party. He actually made some statement, and I'll read it out to you so you can respond to that. He said the stick monster called Emefiele introduced his horrendous, callous, wicked, malevolent, barbaric, vicious, self-seeking, politically motivated, unconstitutional and illegal cash confiscation and money deprivation policy that resulted in the suffering, hunger, destruction, death, suicide, hardship, depression, frustration, madness, and despair of millions of people. He said instead they are threatening to go on strike over the implementation of a well thought out and credible policy.
To get a position from the government, if you want to look at it critically, this is a man that you cannot even mention to any particular job. You can't tell him that, you can't say this is his business, this is what he does, this is his work. So the only benefit from abusing people, talk about people, and make a derogatory statement about people. Unfortunately, we are in a country where people don't even go to court. That is that. If you say we are in a country where people will always take him to court, and the court will do the next, he will have understood the magnitude of what he has been doing all this while. Yes, unfortunately, that's not the case. I don't take his words seriously any longer. I don't even read his comments because it won't give me anything to think of. It will only be something that I would consider like a small boy or a small baby talking that doesn't know anything. That's the way I see it.
So, considering Festus Keyamo, like I asked you, would we say that this is one of the circumstances that may have put him in this kind of situation? And is there a possibility for him to appeal this 10 million naira that the court has actually asked him to pay, the fine that he's been asked to pay?
He definitely pay the fine. If he didn't pay, they have a way of enforcing it. The Atiku and Co can go to court and then ask for contempt, or even they take the initial proceeding against him. So they must pay the money. And like I said, if they have been fined like this, probably they will think twice before taking certain steps, because they believe when you find those cases or the case, he was in government at that time, and then he thought he can use his influence as a minister of state to do anything. As far as I'm concerned, he is under obligation to pay, and he must accept his appeal against it.
All right.
Or accept Atiku and Co are not interested in collecting the money from him.
Well, the question is that when such spurious statements are made, for example, I'm referring you again to Femi Fani-Kayode when he made that statement earlier today, why he was trying to say that NLC shouldn't go on strike, considering the fact that most of the president of removing fuel subsidy, as Bola Ahmed Tinubu towing the same line, whereby he promised to remove subsidy, and then he sees NLC having to contradict that. He literally is trying to say that if it was a different political party, or possibly Peter Obi, the NLC wouldn't have reacted as such, rather they would have defended it. Do we think that there is any substance in the statement that was made by Femi Fani-Kayode, and was there any need at all to make such derogatory comments about, the party and about the situation that Nigerians were going through, before this current dispensation, considering that during that dispensation he was also serving in that capacity? Emefiele of the CBN was also under he was working with former President Muhammadu Buhari, along with Femi Fani-Kayode too, working, in the same party too, the All Progressives Congress. Would you say that he has actually used his own tongue to castigate himself, castigate the party that he works with the description that he described the CBN governor as, while he was trying to talk about the need for NLC not to agitate the fuel subsidy removal?
Yeah, I didn't hear most of the things you said very well. Anyway, but I know you are talking about the fact that is there any basis on what he has said regarding the Labour and the fact that Labour did not go on strike when the CBN governor was introduced.
What I'm trying to ask you is that Femi Fani-Kayode, in trying to talk about the what he called a retrogression in the attitude of the NLC by saying they want to commence strike, where he considered them to be hypocritical. In the same breath, he stated that the leadership of the NLC did not threaten to go on strike when he called Emefiele a sadistic monster. Now, Emefiele worked with his principal, that is former President Muhammadu Buhari. Emefiele worked with his principal, former President Muhammadu Buhari. Also, Emefiele is, of course, he also belongs to the All Progressives Congress. Femi Fani-Kayode is in the APC. So would you say in trying to denigrate or make derogatory comments against the NLC and the opposition party, because this time around he mentioned Peter Obi, that if he had asked Labour to jump high, or if he had asked Labour to jump, they would have asked how high. Do you think he contradicted himself, or rather he put himself and the party he belongs to in a bad light by the statement he made just because he wanted to pass across a point?
Yeah, you see, the issue is that as far as some of these APC members are concerned, they see Emefiele as a non-member because of his policy regarding his monetary policy regarding the change of naira. So they see him as trying to frustrate the Atiku's ambition, and in that regard, they see him as an outsider from the party, and that is why. So because the president came out to say, "I approved it." So as far as I'm concerned, you see, like I said, looking at whatever mechanical this is, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't even worth it. Because most times it doesn't even think twice. But he can say one thing today, tomorrow we will say the different thing on the same issue, and he will just whatever his bread will be buttered. That's why you see him good.
But one would actually okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, let me.
Okay, so one would actually say that is almost the same kind of attitude that Festus Keyamo portrays. Now, when the Abuja court today dismissed his suit and seeking to compel whereby he was seeking to compel the anti-graft agencies to arrest and prosecute Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, and then, of course, you recall when he called that press conference, he also made derogatory comments about Atiku Abubakar. And in that particular instance, Festus Keyamo is reacting through a statement which was signed by, the assistant head of his chambers in Abuja, Mr. John Aneto, who vowed the appeal against the judgment. Keyamo is disagreeing with the decision of the court, insisting that the law enforcement agencies did not indicate their willingness to commence investigations, even if they were given more time. And so he said he wants to establish a legal principle that the society cannot wait as infinitum for law enforcement agencies to do their statutory duties. So he's saying that the suit was designed to prompt the agencies to show their readiness to investigate. So he's countering what the court has told him by paying him on Atiku, and since that did not take place, he's not liable to pay a fine. Do you think his response has any water to hold, against the fine imposed on him by the courts?
You see, the point is that you have the right to. You can go to court and ask the court to compel a government agency to do their job. But you must have the basis. There must be basis for it. And we are saying in the instance case there was no basis for it because this has to do with investigation. Those who have to go and do take a stage have not investigated. What would they not be taken to court? And again, they even said in another breath, they said they've investigated the issue and they've not found anything in it. So. When you know that already, why are you now going to court again to go and do that? And like I said, if we have people, if they are going to be fined like this, then maybe you make them sit tight. If Falika has been taken to court on several occasions for regarding information of character, probably will have reduced his way of abusing people. Because nobody is taking him to court, nobody has challenged him in court, nobody has put up what's it called? Defamatory character matter against him. Those who are filed have even withdraw it because they are now in the same party. So because of that, they are working together. So until people are made to pay for what they say and what they do that is wrongly, then we will not be able to tell results.
Now, with Festus Keyamo's response, Barry, so because of we're running out of time, with Festus Keyamo's response, is it possible that he may not pay that 10 million naira fine because he's debunking? He's saying that the court did not do his due diligence.
He has the right to go to appeal. And if he succeeds in appeal, he need not pay the money. He has to go to appeal. He must succeed for him not to pay the money. So if there's no success in his appeal, there's no way he will not pay the money except Atiku and Co. Not on his own. Just go and say, Keyamo, come and pay our money. Those who own the money that will take steps to say they want to recover their money. And that's why I said, if except Atiku and Co. are not willing to collect it, the court will not on his own just go and say, Keyamo, come and pay.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Tunji, for your input on the World News at 6. I do appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has restated that his administration will revive and restore public confidence in the health sector in Nigeria. The president made the commitment today in his office during an audience with leaders of Joint Health Sector Union, an affiliate of the Nigeria Labour Congress. President Tinubu harped on the importance of the health sector and professionals in the sector as one of commitment to humanity, promising to resolve all identified problems plaguing the system for optimum performance. In a statement by the Director, Information State House, Abiodun Oladunoye, he urged the striking union to return to work. While expressing the readiness of the union to get its members back to work, Acting Chairman Dr. Obinna Ogbonna pleaded with President Tinubu to pay attention to healthcare delivery system in Nigeria through adequate investment in healthcare, infrastructure, and better welfare for workers in the sector to stop brain drain. Olumide Akintayo, a member of the Executive Council of the Union who accompanied the acting chairman to the meeting, urged the federal government to always respond to labor issues and nip them in the bud before they become full-blown industrial crisis. Also, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu met today with ex-governors Nyesom Wike of Rivers State and Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State. President Tinubu also met with the anointed candidate of the All Progressives Congress for the Senate presidency, Godswill Akpabio. The meeting was held at the presidential villa in Abuja. As of press time, the agenda for the visit wasn't clear, but it may not be unconnected with the leadership of the 10th Assembly that will be inaugurated this month. This is the second time Wike has met with Tinubu in the last 72 hours. After the last visit, Wike denied claims that he would dump the People's Democratic Party for the APC. And that is a wrap on the world news at 6 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM.